Good afternoon and welcome to today's program titled Connect with Elite Motivation, Fuel Healthier Attitudes, Actions, and Achievements. I'm Gary Enos, editor of Addiction Professional magazine. Today's program is sponsored by Foundations Recovery Network. Thank you to our sponsor and to our audience for giving us your time and attention today. Before we get started, we have a few details we'd like to go over. To submit a question or a technical issue, please use the Q&A area below the slides at any time. You do not have to wait until the end of the program to ask a question. To download a copy of the presentation, please click the link in the Resources tab to the right of your slides. I have a special note about CE credit. To get your CE, you must watch the program all the way through the Q&A section at the end of the presentation. At the end, do not leave the web page. The site will automatically redirect you to a survey. This survey must be completed in order to generate your CE certificate. For those watching in a group, please download the group submission guide in the Resources tab and follow the instructions provided. Please note that CE credit is not available for the archived webinar. It is only available for the live event. And finally, for those of you who tweet, please tweet along with us using the hashtag #APLiveWebinar. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Jamie Cox. While working as a consultant and coach to more than 100 different businesses, school districts, government agencies, and mental health facilities with populations ranging from anxious to apathetic, Jamie mastered how to motivate people into better attitudes, accomplishments, and healthier lives. His trainings have been credited with corporations increasing teamwork and profits, agencies realizing better outcomes with their clients, school districts reducing dropouts, and with everyone both personally and professionally bettering us today. And with that, the audience is yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Gary. Hi there, everyone. Aren't you the folks who deal with After all, you are the folks who provide a game-changer opportunity for so many troubled people. Hi, everyone, and thank you for taking this opportunity to sample something new and different that will provide you with that extra help and support. Now, I have to admit this is a bit awkward for me because I'll be doing all the talking and there's no interaction. That's not the way I usually work, but let's all make the best of it because this session can be just the boost and support you need. Well, let's get started. Gee, I would think the slide would change. Well, we're still looking at the same picture, at least I am. Well, I keep hitting the technology. You know, you guys ever get hung up on technology where your stuff just doesn't seem to work? Well, like I said, I looking at my screen here and I saw the slides going and I'm hitting the forward button, but nothing's changing. Okay, something changed. Yay, team! But it went too fast, so I got to go back to the slide that's supposed to come. Oh, there we go. Finally. Woo-hoo! Well, there's the question. Yeah, check that one out. Huh. Now, there's supposed to be another question pop up, and now it's going back. Wow. I tell you, sometimes you just can't get no cooperation from technology. Okay, now I went back, and now there. Okay, now we got two questions. Woo! Let me hit this again. Let's see if we can go to the next one. And we didn't. Oh, jeez. So I'm hitting the backspace again. Okay, here's the third question. Technology, you just got to, nurse it along. Okay, so what will keep going and stuff? Well, yeah. Huh. Well, what do you think the answer is to this one? And let me hit it again and see if it will go to the right one. With so far, nah, it doesn't. So I got to go back again, learning how to do this. Okay, good. Woo! Surprise! This is what this webinar is all about. Elite motivation, the answer to all those questions. And I'm hitting it again. And we're going to go forward again. And I'm going to hit backwards again. So if we can get to the right question. Well, okay. Yeah, that gives you a little background. And because when you talk about motivation, it's certainly got to be sustainable. And I'm going to hit it again and go to the slide the transition. Okay, back again. Hey, technology is fun. Don't you love it? There is the last question. Thank goodness. Well, this is the one we really need to answer, especially if this session is going to be of any use to anyone. I just want to share that besides feeling out of place in that of technology, because I'm doing all the talking, is that your field is addiction and your therapists working with clients having chemical abuse issues, and I'm not exactly in that specific field. I have been honing an approach for over 25 years that has had remarkable results in motivating a resolve to shed toxic habits and strive for self-improvement by achieving goals. Now, the first person I used this on was me when I was working as a nurse in the municipal health department in Anchorage, Alaska, and had shot up to over 340 pounds after my divorce. Well, after listening to all the healthcare professionals in the health department who prescribed exercise, dieting, and lots of strict regimens, I gained weight. So I put myself on the program I was developing while working with adolescents in corrections. Well, to make a long story short, it proved quite successful. And after 8 months, I had lost over 100 pounds, which to this day I have never put back on. Now, because I was a well-known figure in the community at the time, working with adolescents in juvenile detention centers, people thought I was the next Richard Simmons and wanted me to help them lose weight. Now, I thought it was ridiculous that they were labeling me the Richard Simmons of Alaska because I had never went to an exercise class or sweated to the oldies. Well, anyway, that got me out of the health department and into private practice, which is how I've been making my living ever since. After working in obesity for over a year, I got bored. But since I was so successful there, the Anchorage School District and the Department of Corrections kept me quite busy with their hard-to-reach populations. When I left Alaska, I contracted with the Riverview Youth Correctional Center in Spokane, where I taught the staff my approach. That resulted in their clients having the lowest rearrest record of any juvenile or adult facility in the entire Northwest for 4 straight years, until they lost their funding over politics, I guess. Now, the first job I took after weight loss while still in Alaska was at Aquila House, which was a residential facility for drug and alcohol abusers. It was there working with this population that my approach really blossomed. All the Alaska natives who went through the program never touched alcohol or any drug after returning to their village, which was unheard of because 10 years later they were still sober. That success was one of the significant reasons I went to the lower 48 to continue my practice, which largely has been in the business world with managers who want their employees to do their job. At least in the business world, I didn't have to be concerned about grants or the agency I was with losing their funding. Only recently have I been interested in working with those in the chemical abuse field again, at the urging of some of my psychologist colleagues. I had one facility manager who was quite anxious to have me work with their clients, but her boss realized I didn't have the right initials after my name, so insurance companies wouldn't honor my work and pay them. So I've decided to stick to training. So if you folks are willing to see an approach that is extremely effective in getting the results you seek, stick around. This webinar will not disappoint as I lay out the groundwork of how my approach really works for those suffering from addictions. You ready? And that's my cue to hit the next slide, and let's see what happens. Hey, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. Now you can read that. Okay, now, as professionals, we are educated with degrees, credentials, and we usually go to the facts when helping people change their behaviors to sobriety and healthier lives. But the sobering reality is that facts, information, and knowledge aren't what drives behaviors, attitudes, or change. That distinction goes to feelings. Feelings are what drives thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors. Elite motivation guides those healthier attitudes and behaviors by using a procedural application to combine brain and emotional smarts called MOVE. That's MOVE with two V's. MOVE represents the 5 keys of elite motivation for opening a path to emotional intelligence. Let's see if the transition happens. Yay, baby! The first key is mobilize. Channel feelings into productive behaviors. Organize those actions into a pursuit of success. Visualize. You got to see yourself applying those positive actions. Verbalize. You learn to talk your walk of progressive actions to garner support. Energize. You grease the wheels of actions with feelings of determination, perseverance, and achievements. Now, these are the 5 MOVE keys of elite motivation that opens the door to link emotional intelligence to brain and behaviors, so all 3 are working together. Okay, let's get this elite motivation on the move and increase the effectiveness of talking therapies. MOVE creates specialized, emotionally smart communication practices that we'll cover a bit later on. Clients experience that action is worth more than 1,000 words. Clients discover how to behave their way through stuck feelings and patterns. The promise of change becomes a visible reality. Well, it's time to sample new things, that's for sure. Now, we've set an active stage for risk-taking, where innovation meets practicality. These power pivots are really nothing new. They're just arranged in a structured format, promoting understanding and support for risk-taking. Now, when I ask a parent who is waiting for their child to walk and sees them fall after they attempt to stand for the first time, what they must do to ensure their son or daughter will get back up and try again. They usually answer with words of encouragement, giving them a hand or just picking them up and placing them back on their feet. Of course, these answers are dead wrong. As long as their child sees them walking, that's their motivation. Now, is this what's more important than facts, information, and knowledge? Well, that's what Albert Einstein said, and, he was a pretty smart dude. Now, I ask parents who replaces them as guiders of their kids' behaviors when they get into school. Their usual answer is the teacher, but that's not true, is it? And the fourth power pivot is the real truth we must learn to steer so our clients can get and stay into healthier lifestyles. These four power pivots are one of the move active actions that provides a solid format to build and enhance the application of elite motivation. Now, each letter of MOVE represents a key focus of elite motivation, and that first key is mobilize, which is all about putting your feelings and plans about getting sober and healthier into actions. And the first of the 5 stages that elite motivation sets is connect. The keys like mobilize and organize represent the emotional drivers, and the stages represent the behavioral plans. Now, the one thing that is essential for me, as it probably is for you too, is that no client is alone. Facilitator and client, we all work together. Now, the next move, active action, are the guidelines which set the basic foundation to embrace new behaviors and ease anxieties. The Bible has the 10 commandments, but elite motivation has just 3 guidelines to assist a person towards sobriety and a healthier life. The first one is so important because if the client is not prepared to embrace their anxiety, they'll continue to numb themselves with alcohol and drugs. This first guideline promotes them to stretch outside their comfort zone and take risks. Now, this one is normally what all parents do in their efforts to protect their offspring from any embarrassment or mistakes. But feeling that embarrassment or failure is the real teacher, because feelings are what drive behaviors and attitudes, not good intentions. Besides, an addict often tends to band-aid themselves with their drug of choice. So this guideline is absolutely essential. This last one is the linchpin, because we all get stuck, confused, and miss the mark. This one gives permission to make mistakes, because they are on a journey to discover how to lead a sober and drug-free life, and they're not alone. This guideline is what all parents of teenagers wish their kids would follow. These 3 guidelines are taught, repeated, and come up as examples as clients strive towards a healthier lifestyle. Now, isn't one of the first things we do with a client is we ask them why they're there and what they expect? Well, The whole idea here is to make them aware that what they want are now the goals they'll be striving to achieve. Now, this gets the old noodle working, so they have their mind on the end zone, the goal line, what they really want. And getting them to be conscious of how they'll feel. Once they achieve their goals, teams their IQ and EQ together on a mission to succeed. Now we have elite motivation that's on the move. Now, the next move key of elite motivation is organize. It's mapping out all the attitudes and behaviors the clients will be expressing as they pursue their goals. Remember, these keys are the link to open the door to emotional smarts. This sets the second stage of elite motivation, challenge. Stages are set for taking action. This is where you address the elephant in the room. For the addict, it's how to gain and maintain a sober lifestyle. Each client experiences trials, tribulations, and triumphs as they strive towards sobriety by becoming a better version of themselves. Yes. So what you need to do is, this prompts the building of their sobriety storyboard, which scene by scene will take them to their goals. Now, my parents worked in Viv Television Productions in New York City, where they were part of the team producing a soap called The Edge of Night. So every day after school, I'd be on a soundstage watching how a daily show got put together. Now, it didn't matter how the person in front of the camera was feeling. They could have been struggling with their delinquent children, dealing with divorce, or had just landed a major contract. All that took a back seat to what they needed to express in that scene. So their voice, behaviors, and emotions delivered what was in the script. That was their goal. Now, if they didn't nail those expressions and stayed in character, people at home would be changing the channel, and that meant the show would get canceled and everyone would lose their job. So I grew up experiencing how a character, when they combined their brains with emotionally appropriate behaviors, they hit the mark and accomplished their goals. The awareness of the widescreen vision of a producer and the savvy sight of a director teamed to give insight and direction to characters, so they brought the right attitude and behaviors to every scene they were in. I was being schooled in how to create appropriate behaviors with emotional intelligence. Now, we live in an age of cell phones, iPads, Instagram, and Twitter, where everyone has seen YouTube, movies, TV shows, and know what directors, producers, and stars do. So elite motivation takes advantage of this reality. Over the years, as I worked with youth or the young adult population, they really embrace the excitement of producing, directing, and starring in their own life show. The skills and resources they learn while becoming the person who succeeds has even been embraced by a local school district here. I've been coaching one of their school psychologists with the principal, and the principal has been impressed with the results they're seeing in the kids. So that they just might contract with me to do a whole series of in-services for their entire staff in August to prepare for the start of school in September. I've also been working with a social worker and psychologist who see an elderly population and that they have had tremendous success with the geezer crowd because these elders have too embraced the whole theatrical approach of elite motivation and move. You'll find that as your clients construct their own sobriety show with a storyboard, they gain a keen perceptual awareness that will help them exhibit healthier actions as they see themselves as their own producer, director, and star. So after you cue them with, so what you need to do is, it gets them to construct a scene that delivers a recognition of a better attitude and behavior. You add the next cue, a short and simple, and that prompts them to think about yet another scene they'd need to be in. This fill-in-the-blank technique, when said with an inquisitive tone of gentle curiosity, cues the other person to continue those words and fill in that blank using their own words. This hails back to that second power pivot, imagination, which gets the other person to think and respond with what they believe is the answer. Instead of using our normal in-charge voice of authority to ask questions and give instructions, like when we say, so what would be another scene you'd have to be in? Or, okay, now think of the next scene that would lead you up to your goal. Rather, we speak in these fill-in-the-blank prompts in a softer, curious voice that inspires their imagination to search for answers. So it's said like this. So other actions to take would be, this fill-in-the-blank style arouses others to extend our vocal lead-ins. It's an example of listening leadership, where you lead them to a healthier reality by giving them the opportunity to reflect and express. Now, it may seem like such a minor thing, but it's part of a vital communication format that I'll explain in more detail when we get to the move verbalize key. The end result here is they use their brain, their imagination, the second power pivot, and they become their own role model. That's the first power pivot. To create a scene-by-scene progression where they see themselves as the producer, director, and star, creating healthier attitudes and behaviors to achieve their own successful sobriety show. Oh, and then we cue them to see a more familiar, alternate outcome. And again, we cue them to actualize how they could possibly create such an unwanted ending. They do recognize this is a reality, and they have often lived through. We empower them to see this yin-yang reality, which can be quite a sobering truth. And the real truth here is they begin to see who's in charge of their choices. And it's usually this reality that will help them sustain their direction towards creating a healthier sobriety show. Hey, can you answer this question? Well, let's give it a shot. That old saying that talk is cheap and actions speak louder than words certainly gets supported with that first move, active action of elite motivation, those 4 power pivots. When you want to implement better attitudes and behaviors, you certainly want to capitalize on role models to see things to do as well as what not to do. Using imagination and emotional intelligence seems obvious enough, but let's clarify peer influence a bit, because we know about Facebook friends, fair weather friends, and those who pretend to be our friends. That's the difference between cast and crew. Anyone on a movie or part of a TV cast has their own script, their own goals. They are not really there for you, whereas a crew member knows your script, your goals, what you are to do, and what to avoid. They are on your side all the way. When I do groups with clients, that third power pivot, peer influence, really comes into play. I've seen so many examples of clients helping each other without band-aiding when in a move group. The accelerated rate of achievement of individuals and groups is literally amazing. Elite motivation gives clients a way to recognize the difference between cast and crew and an ability to recruit loyal crew members, better friends. Stay tuned. We'll get to that soon. Our three guidelines set a standard to follow for success. It eases and promotes change. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It alerts us against sabotage. Don't band-aid or rescue. It reminds clients that they are not alone. It's okay to ask for help. Move on 3 is another move active action that we often use first to engage and empower clients towards productive change. Let's check it out. When we first inquire what a client wants, we are actually employing the first step of Move on 3 by establishing their goals, directions, and destination. Next, it's all about the actions you'll need to do to achieve those goals. It provides the framework for every scene in the client's sobriety storyboard. And of course, knowing what to do and not to do is that yin-yang awareness to stay the course on direction and destination. B is all about choosing to become the character who sustains their drive and achieves success scene after scene to arrive at the destination and accomplish their goals. A sobriety show achieved means the client chooses to be a better, healthier version of themselves, scene after scene. Let's put this together because we may not be able to choose how we feel, but we sure can choose what emotions to express so we can drive towards our goals. Whenever we've watched a movie, TV show, or theatrical production, we witness people being able to emote in character so their behaviors were believable. That's acting. Actors do someone else's script. When you're on the move with elite motivation, you create your own script, construct your own storyboard, and choose what emotions and behaviors to express so you can achieve your happy sobriety ending. It's not acting. It's learning to express better attitudes and behaviors. This is what clients can succeed in doing with your elite motivation guidance. Now, there's the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Move on 3. Want, do, and be. The third move key of elite motivation is visualize. That's purposely seeing yourself in future scenes, applying what you're learning to overcome obstacles and becoming that better version of yourself who succeeds. Now, this brings us to the next stage of elite motivation, co-create. Feelings, plans, and good intentions need to be put into action. And when you're going through this experience, you're not alone. Behaving our way through challenges and achievements is how we hone skills and sharpen our resources. That's brain, behaviors, and emotional intelligence all working together, co-creating a better future. So let's see how this proceeds. Yes, that's our producer that gives us the big picture sight. Our director always looks to improve and sharpen skills and outcomes. The star represents our usual self-seeing things the way we normally see things. Again, this is what our producer side sees. Our director side has their focus on each individual scene. And they have the lens of all those move active actions in focus. And then we, as the star, gets to apply that director focus and producer wisdom as we express our move into better attitudes and action. Yes, we as the star are on the move with the active action of PDS, bringing us a clearer perceptual awareness that will help us avoid impulsive and toxic reactions. PDS sets the foundation for one of the best ways for a person to short-circuit an escalating feeling like anger or fear that is causing or contributing to a toxic situation. This move active action is called stop, drop, and roll, with roll being spelled as R-O-L-E, not R-O-L-L, which is described the last step to putting out a fire that we learned in school, to stop, drop to the ground, and roll around to douse the flames. Well, this move version of stop, drop, and roll, R-O-L-E, is for putting out those anger flames that can arise within us to aggravate and escalate a situation. Let me share the way it works as one of my clients recently described when she was being verbally attacked at her job. As she was hearing these vicious lies, she felt like she was going to verbally retaliate and defend herself. But then she remembered the first stop, that is, halt any listening, discontinue talking, extinguish any interaction, and then drop. She imagined herself way across the room looking at the scene she was in with this argumentative parent. She was then focused with a producer's eye which sees things through the lens of your total life show. So when you, the star of your show, is feeling something, when you see it through the eyes of that bigger picture perspective of the producer, those feelings don't transmit. They are dropped. Some call this disassociation, but in elite motivation, it's applying the second power pivot, imagination, to see things from the wide-screen perspective of a producer who doesn't share the feelings of herself as the star. So when imagining herself seeing what's happening from a distance, those feelings of anger, anxiety, or fear, they drop like a rock. Then comes roll, R-O-L-E, which stands for the communication role of the listener, who she then slid into devoid of any antagonism and was just inquisitively curious why this woman was acting this way. Since the adversarial position was vacated, the situation was easily resolved. The gal who related this stop, drop, and roll example was the school psychologist I'm presently coaching. After practicing stop, drop, and roll, After practicing, actually, stop, drop, and roll takes just a few seconds to do in real life. So when needed, you can make your move to one of the great resources of elite motivation and calm escalating fears, anxiety, and outrage in just seconds. The next move key of elite motivation is verbalize. Here's a format to improve communication, understanding, and trust. All these move keys inspire clients to unlock the appropriate emotion, and when you start to talk differently to ensure better communication, you sure need that supportive energy boost. Now, this fourth stage of elite motivation, celebrate, often is confused with being out of place because the fifth stage has yet to appear. But this stage cues behaviors that celebrate accomplishment. Usually celebration comes after achieving something, but if you can see and feel that celebratory excitement you'll have after victory, then that's the motivational energy you want now that will certainly fire up your jets to push through challenges and ultimately attain what you're striving for. Celebrate is the fourth stage of elite motivation, bringing you the strong sense of success that's just around the corner. Yes, isn't it time we speak up? And here's the best definition of communication that shines a light on what elite motivation provides. Well, let's see how to make this happen. Well, we're going to make this as simple and understandable as possible. When I ask others which role facilitates communication, sender or receiver, I usually hear it's the sender. Sometimes they argue that it's both sender and receiver. Here's an easy example to settle this. There are radio stations broadcasting nearby. They're sending out their messages with songs, commercials, and announcements. They are in the sender role. They're tuned in. Are you tuned into them right now? If not, then they are not communicating with you because you are not listening. We may not like it, but it's the receiver who facilitates communication, not the sender. I bet you all have experienced this reality one time or another. Elite motivation has a powerful way to communicate messages with a listening leadership approach. Stay tuned. Much more on this to come. That first sender role, sage, is probably easy to identify with because that's how we express ourselves when we're healthy and can combine logic with appropriate emotions. The attitude and strength of a sage is I am important. It's a freeing and exciting feeling. The other sender role, howler, is also probably very familiar too. Its behavioral setting attitude is I'm important, not you. We can get this way when we're mad, upset, frustrated, and in an argument. When others are in that howler role, we are definitely in a distressing situation. The difference between sage and howler is choice. We can choose to be a sage, but the howler is stuck in some degree of anger. Now, the first receiver role is the muzzle. Another stuck position, but this one is stuck in any number of feelings that draw us inward and make us feel bad. The attitude of the muzzle, you're important, I'm not, sets them up for doormat status. And what's worse, they lie to appease. We are probably very familiar with some of these traits. It's amazing how many of us frequently go to the muzzle role just to get along. This second receiver role, the sensei, is the master of listening leadership. They have an attitude and belief that they motivate the importance and self-esteem of others. The first part of the word send stands for the way they send or express themselves because they can get others to say, hence sensei. It's the ultimate receiver role that can make others feel important, valued, and heard. So trust, teamwork, and a sense of gaining their authentic self emerges. There are several verbal sensei techniques to learn, and hopefully in another session we can get to them. The last move of elite motivation is energize, where positive attitudes and productive behaviors are refreshed, refocused, and recharged. The final stage of elite motivation falls into place with a dedication of perseverance and determination to achieve the success of their sobriety show. Hopefully, that is now so obvious. Can you learn to speak in that listening leadership sensei role? Absolutely. That language comes to us to life with lots of examples for counselors, teachers, and managers in my book, Elite Motivation, which is available on Amazon and Kindle. Yes, the client is on the move with elite motivation, and not only those 4 active options we just shared with you, there are 50 more to make the transition past all challenges and into the rewards of productive skills, resources, and achievements. Elite motivation. It can be a very valuable tool. There were 5 stages of elite motivation that we have gone through. You probably remember the connect, the challenge, co-create, celebrate, and of course the commitment. And anytime you run a meeting, you do it this way, it's going to work out so very well. You know, I hate to say it, but this is what got Donald Trump elected. He was able to connect with people that, weren't heard by the Democrats. He challenged them to take action, come to those meetings, and he kind of co-created with them, got them all riled up, and of course they celebrated at all the, the events that he put on that were rallies, and of course they committed by going to the polls. They connected, challenged, co-created, celebrated, and commit. Donald Trump used the 5 stages of elite motivation. I guess he did. Hey, people can read my book. Come on. Now, the 5 keys to elite motivation, the mobilize, organize, visualize, verbalize, and energize. That opens the door to emotional intelligence. It opens the door to being emotionally smarter. You put the keys together and the stages together, and you have IQ and EQ working together. Now, that is something you want to put into the hands of all your clients. You want to see results? Get them on the move with elite motivation. Now, Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you for some Q&A.
Jamie, thanks so much. Very good presentation. We have had a few questions have come in. We would like to remind those in the audience that you can use the Q&A area below the slides to submit a question at any time. Jamie, we had a question about, I know you mentioned your book. Are there any client-focused writings or shorter materials that clients could read to sort of have a better understanding of this concept? Is there things they could read between sessions, that kind of thing? Is there anything of that nature available?
Yes, there's a graphic flip book that goes through all the stages. It goes through all the keys of elite motivation, and it's going to be up on Kindle in a couple of days. And the prices of both these books, come on, because I know I'm dealing with people who don't make a lot of money, so they're both well under $10. They're actually around $5 or something like that. But yeah, that's a really good book, and I use it a lot with youth. In fact, the counselor that works with the elderly, she has all her clients get that particular book. That particular book that's going to be available on Kindle and Amazon in hopefully by the end of the week, is called Move, The 5 Keys of Elite Motivation.
Excellent. Okay. I wanted to ask, in your view, in terms of the addiction patient, does their level of acuity of illness have any impact here in terms of how amenable they may be to going through this process? Does it work as well? Would it conceivably work as well for the more seriously ill patient than for someone who maybe doesn't reach that level of dependence or whatever? I'm just curious as to whether you think it's applicable across the range of problems that our audience sees.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I cut my teeth in a Keela house working with 40, 50 addicts, and I learned a lot. I learned that if you're psychotic, this won't work for you because you're already imagining things. And the whole idea with elite motivation is that you are going to create a better version of yourself, and you've got to see yourself in the future. And then, of course, doing it in a group setting where folks can get up and role play, whoa, that's phenomenal. And I have never seen addicts work so hard to help each other, but they don't Band-Aid each other. I love that. So, if you're psychotic, I wouldn't really get into this, but the normal defensiveness that a person goes through at first, they get over it, they get past it, and they embrace it.
Excellent. And Jamie, what about this? I'm curious about the move process. Is it a very linear process of going from one stage to the other, never kind of going back and forth, or is this more of a fluid kind of progression where you might have someone? Go ahead.
Yeah, boy, is it fluid. So far as going in, it depends on who's in the room, because you have to set it according to their needs. And all the clients that I work with or other counselors work with, they send in CIAs, which I think everybody has heard. That is an email that they send in to the facilitator, hopefully you guys will send it in to me, and then we respond back with that, and then that gets published to everybody else in the group. Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish it to everybody who attended. And that's another way to build skills, understanding, and get that unity with people because they realize the pages that other people are on and what levels and what's working for them. Really good role models emerge from that. It's amazing. The whole CIA format is phenomenal, and businesses that I work with use it all the time with their managers.
Interesting. Another question from the audience, Jamie. The person says, I noticed some similarities with choice theory with Glasser. Did you have some background in this theory in the past? I know he doesn't use the EQ, but the questions are familiar. Any relationship between what you're advancing here and choice theory?
Yeah, I don't really know anything about choice theory, but I know about Glasser. I read his book a long time ago called Reality Therapy. And a psychologist friend of mine who teaches psychology and social work, he says, all this psychology stuff is basically the same. Some of the names have been changed, but they're really usually going over the same old stuff. What elite motivation does is it uses our cultural familiarity with the media, with television, with shows, and it helps put the clients in the driver's seat. And then it brings in all kinds of resources like I was saying, there's over 50 active actions that can be used. And again, it's very fluid, so it gets plugged in as needed.
Great. We hear a lot in this field about the concept of self-directed care, and where programs are trying more to involve patients at the ground floor of treatment planning and through every step of that process as it unfolds. Do you feel that this approach of yours coordinates well with that sort of emphasis on self-directed care in addiction treatment right now?
I would have to say absolutely 4 stars. Not only do I believe it, but a lot of the counselors I'm working with tell me that, and they like it because, again, it gives the steering wheel back to the clients. So they are the star, they are their own director, and they are their producer. And what they're doing is they're sharing what they are achieving, what the roadblocks they're in, and talk about self-directed. When you're on the move with elite motivation, you're in the self-direction.
Excellent, Jamie. I think we're going to break there. We have a couple of announcements. I've got some concluding remarks, but before I get into the concluding remarks about CE, I want to turn it over briefly to Sarah at Foundations, who has a couple of words to pass along as well. Sarah.
Thanks, Gary. Here at Foundations Recovery Network, our grassroots movement called Heroes in Recovery has a simple mission. That is to eliminate the social stigma that keeps addicted individuals from seeking help and to share stories of recovery for the purpose of encouragement and inspiration. Join us in this mission at our 6K race series at these locations across the country. As a thank you for your attendance today, please enjoy the discount code webinar 2017 to register for any future 6K events. Back to you, Gary.
Sarah, thanks very much. I have some final instructions to pass along regarding CE credit. Again, do not leave this page. Please continue to stay on the platform. The site will automatically redirect you to a survey. This survey must be completed in order to generate your CE certificate. Again, for those watching in a group, as a reminder, please download the group submission guide in the Resources tab to the right of the slides and follow the instructions provided. Please note that CE credit is not available for the archived webinar. It is only available for the live event on June 27, 2017. I want to thank Jamie Cox once again for an excellent presentation. I also would like to thank our sponsor, Foundations Recovery Network, for making today's program possible. Finally, thank you to you and our audience for participating today. We hope you will join us in the future for another Addiction Professional webinar. This concludes today's presentation.